Hi, everybody. Today, I got a new story for you. I've kind of developed into a storyteller, and this is one that I think is very necessary. It's a story of redemption. Doesn't the world need a story of redemption? Well, here it is. It's a story of triumph over tragedy and travesty. And the tragedy everybody knows about. September 14th, 2013, fell off my board, paralyzed from the chest down, and having to conquer the darkness of self pity and grief and anguish just to get back to the land of the breathing on this relentless march back to the classroom. And then in the 6 months after my injury, my friends from the Irish music world got together and put together Keenan Strong, this massive May 3rd and 4th festival, an outpouring of love and support to try to raise as much money as possible for the 24-hour care of this guy in a wheelchair and his family's well-being. And I want to fast forward to May 4th. I got picked up at the nursing home in Liberty, New York, and as I'm driving to the venue, I'm hearing the sounds of my CD, my music being pumped over the car stereo, and I'm sitting there in my wheelchair with this beatific smile on my face. I was so pumped up, and I heard the words of the song, "The crack was 90, and the home's of Donegal, and the banks of the roses, and the boys of the bar Schreider." And I just thought to myself, my God. And my friends, Pat Deneen, who put together and produced the music that went along with the tracks that I recorded to bring the CD Believe to life. Oh my God, heart full of gratitude. So I pulled up at the venue, German Masonic Fairground, May 4th. I got there around 11:30. I looked at a sea of humanity. I said to myself, my God, we'll never have to worry about money ever again. And went into the Mass, celebrated by my friend, Father Rob McKeown, and then the music started, and it was absolutely massive. Fast forward, my friend Ed Day, the county executive of Rockland County, made a great speech and proclaimed May 4th, 2014, to be Billy Keenan Day in Rockland County. And as soon as he finished, I asked for the microphone. And these are the words I said, and I remember it almost verbatim. The crowd was, God, there was 5,000 people there. And I asked for some quiet. I asked for their attention. And I said these words: for those of you who can hear my voice, I want you to know this is not the end of Billy Keenan. This is only the beginning. I'm going to come back and contribute. I'm going to come back and contribute in a significant way. I have so much more to give. And without even being consciously aware of it, I was echoing the words of Stephen McDonald when he called my hospital room in early November and literally saved the big part of my soul and got me back on the road to resilience. And this is what was going on. So the purpose of this video is to mark the 10th anniversary of Keenan Strong. And you know what? It's a conquest. It's a victory over dark. And you know what? The light will always conquer the dark. But I want to share with you, I want to take you on the inside and show you what I had to do to move forward. And people in my life, friends, family, people I love, and I know who love me, say, Billy, you've got to move on. You've got to move forward. And I tell you this, my friends, so many times in our lives, we get ourselves into situations where we become the victim. Things are done to us, and we have no control over them. And the only thing that we have control over is how we react. And so, for all of my friends and family who say, Billy, you have to move on, I tell you this: take a good look at what I did, how I reacted, and the story tells itself. Now, I want to take you inside to Keenan Strong. 1 week after the Keenan Strong event, I was brought home for a Mother's Day barbecue. Everything was great. The other family was there. Nobody from my family was there, but the other family was there. And they were practically giddy, ebullient in their moods. So I wanted to get in on it. So I asked about the money. And strangely, rather than be told, I was threatened, cursed, abused, and then taken back to a nursing home, isolated for 4 more months. And you have to ask yourself this question. If you're a reasonable person, even if you deny what I'm saying and you are partisan to the other family, ask yourself this question. If all that money was raised, why was Billy Keenan not brought home immediately? And the answer is quite simple. They had the money. What they did not need was me. I was finally brought home in August 20th of 2014, and I became an annoyance. And very quickly, that annoyance became abuse. I kept asking about the money, asking more and more vehemently, and then finally, fast forward to July 31st of 2015, I heard these words that evoked the sum of all fears. that money is not for you. It's for me and my children. I will burn it before you get a dime. Can you imagine being in my position, laying there in a hospital bed, hearing these words? My God, could things ever get any worse? And you know what? Amazingly, they did. You see, the deprivation of those funds resulted in the lack of and the neglect of my physical care, and my health declined precipitously. And what I'm going to show you, it's a really strong image, and I want you to be prepared. It's a little bit graphic, and this is the first time I'm airing this in public, but I want you to see the darkness that I had to overcome. Friends, the thing you're looking at is a stage 4 pressure ulcer. You see, being completely immobile, medical doctrine dictates that I have to be rotated, I have to be repositioned every 2 hours to prevent bed sores. This is exactly what the money was raised for, to provide an extra caregiver to rotate me during the night. And of course, this never happened. So this stage 4 pressure ulcer, and what you're looking at, the dark area, the black area, is necrotic tissue. It's dead tissue. There was no blood flow for months. This wound was first diagnosed in June of 2015 and should have been healed, but it wasn't. My primary caregiver was a registered nurse in the field of dermatology, and yet this wound was allowed to happen. I couldn't feel it and I couldn't see it, and it was a privately paid caregiver that actually saw it, took a picture of it while my primary caregiver was on vacation. And this is what saved my life. My caregiver, Jane, saved my life by showing me the wound. The dark area is dead tissue, and the yellow area is just about to become necrotic. Stage 4 pressure ulcer. And so this is what happened, and I want you to see it and to understand it, because this is the darkness that I had to overcome. And friends, I want you to know how I reacted to all of this. 4 weeks after this event, I rolled back into the classroom to resume teaching. And I rolled back in the classroom with a thing called a wound vac on my right calf. This is a vacuum, literally sucking out the dead tissue from the wound to bring out the healthy, granulated blood flow to precipitate and to facilitate healing. This is what I had to overcome going back to school, a wound vac. Before I go on, I just want to make one more point about this life-threatening stage 4 pressure ulcer. The reason it's life-threatening, if it went untreated, and it was going untreated, that wound could easily become infected. If the wound becomes infected, then I'm vulnerable to sepsis, and that would bring about my certain death. So this is what's going on. I'm fighting against life-threatening disease and illness that all could have been prevented, and this is the darkness that I had to fight to get through to create light. So, my friends, you can see at this point, I'm in complete and utter despair in the fall of 2015, and in this desperate state, I reached out to a couple of key members, really good friends, trusted people who worked diligently to make the fundraiser the incredible success that it was. And the first one was a man named Ken. And I just want to share with you from an affidavit that he submitted to the court during my divorce proceedings. And he basically said that he had a conversation with my former sister-in-law. Now, this was the person in the book I call Teresa, and she was the one who took control of the committee against my wishes, but she took control of the committee. And she said the following words on May 1st to my friend Ken, who was getting the stages all set. Listen, don't let the Keenan brothers, Jim and John, anywhere near the money. I don't trust them. And my friend Ken, he writes in his affidavit, I thought this was strange, but I didn't want to raise any problems, so I just kept my thoughts to myself and moved forward trying to make the event a great success. Now, we got to stop here for a minute. I don't trust the Keenan brothers. Friends, can you imagine my brothers Jim and John, the two guys I trust with my life? Can you imagine them riding in like on horses like the Wild West and taking the money? That was never going to happen. So this seriously points to a conspiracy laid to take the money on the part of the other family. It points to it strongly. And then finally, I'm going to skip ahead, and Ken V says the following. He asked my former sister-in-law how much money was raised. How did we do? And she said the following words, $700,000 and counting, but there's more money being handed in and totaled up. so it will likely be more. And this man also pressed for a final meeting because it's customary for a meeting to be held with the committee to reveal everything in complete transparency and also to say thank you. And there was never a meeting held, and the amount was never let out. And that's from my friend Ken. The second person that I reached out to, a man named Patrick, who, I've talked about him before. He produced my CD. He conducted the online presence for all the social media for Keenan Strong. And he just worked so hard, my God. Such a good and trusted friend. And in the aftermath, 1 week after the event, he called that same person, my former sister-in-law, Teresa, and asked, how did we do? And she said the following words: 750,000 and still counting. 750,000 and still counting. But do not tell Michael G. I don't want this getting out. Keep it to yourself, and in particular, do not tell Michael G. Now, friends, I got to stop the bus here. My friend Michael G. was the guy that I handpicked to head the committee. I called him to my hospital bed in November at Helen Hayes, shortly after my injury, and asked him to do this for me. And he did. And he was pushed out of control of the committee. He was never allowed to know. So let's stop again. If Michael G. knew how much money was raised, he would have come straight to Billy Keenan and said, Billy, amazing news. We got $750,000. Isn't this great? But he was not allowed to know. And therefore, I was never allowed to know, and no one in the Keenan family. And this was the affidavit that was submitted by my friend Patrick. And so, friends, it really points to a very broad conspiracy that was months in the planning. And again, there was never any consideration given to my needs. It was all for the other side. And this is the darkness that I had to battle against. So, friends, I've shown you the darkness, and now I want to show you the light. I want to point to a couple of specific things. September 2015, I had already heard the money was not for me. I had already seen the photo of that wound, and my heart sunk. But the day after Labor Day, I rolled back into my classroom with a wound vac on the back of my wheelchair, and I taught. I taught under the cloud of this incredible darkness. My relentless pursuit of light could not be stopped by all the darkness. Nothing could stop me. And you know what? I taught for almost 2 full years. And when I could no longer teach, I reinvented myself as a speaker. I want to talk about speaking for a minute. I did all my speaking pro bono. Everything was for free, and so much of it was going out and giving faith witness. And it's my faith that saved me. My faith saved me to the point where, and I think this is so important, and I want you to really listen to my words. Every day since the onset of the pandemic, I prayed the Holy Rosary. And in the 4th decade, I pray for that other family. I call them by name. I call them by name every day for the last 4 years. And I ask the Blessed Mother to convert their hearts and help them give a true confession of their sins before they die, so they might redeem their souls. So you see, rather than wish them eternity in hellfire, I'm actually wishing for the redemption of their souls. So in a way, it's not the kind of forgiveness that Stephen McDonald was able to offer the kid who shot him, but it's a different sort of forgiveness. I pray for my persecutors, and I had to get to this point to move towards the light. And you know what? When I could no longer speak during the pandemic, I wrote a book. And now I'm writing a second book. But I want to get serious for a minute. The deprivation of that money has led to long-term health problems. I've been 4 years without physical therapy, and the muscular atrophy has gotten to the point where it is terminal. So the fact that that money was taken is taken years off of my life, years away from the people who love me and the people who I love. They stole time. And yet, friends, I am still here. A story of redemption, a triumph over tragedy and travesty, and I offer it to you. I am still here 10 years after Keenan Strong, and I am on the road to resilience, and in a weird way, I remain Keenan Strong. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope this video, I know it will make you angry, but I also hope that it makes you inspired and know that the light always conquers the dark. Thanks so much, everybody. God bless you.